ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jay-Z, and this is Flashpoint Radio. It is March 15th, Friday, 2013, and I've got some gun news for you today. We're going to look a little bit into the future and what it might look like if they ever were to try to confiscate Americans' guns. And we'll also look at, well, some present-day articles of them actually confiscating Americans' guns. The only difference is these people aren't you or me. But you can be damn sure that the elite and the gun grabbers and the fascists and the communists in our government want to expand that to you and me. That is their goal. I want to point you to a good blog entry from John Rappaport. He does some writing on his own. He's an investigative journalist. He wrote this back on January 16th. Breaking, New York creates psychiatric police state. And he goes over what Governor Cuomo rammed through a month after the Newtown shooting, and that was new restrictive gun laws in New York State. Psychiatrists must report patients who could potentially harm themselves or others. If such a patient owns a gun, it will be confiscated. You see, using the medical industrial complex to get their agenda across. Remember when Barack Obama had his speech, his gun speech, it had to do with what? Not letting crazy people get guns and having our healthcare system, which is now basically controlled and monitored 100% by the government, have them in charge in keeping the guns out of the wrong people's hands. And we did talk about this in our drone conversation last week. When the government decides who is right and who is wrong, it doesn't really matter. You and I could be a person on their list to take the guns away. So let's get right into some articles. But read that blog post, please, from the Los Angeles Times. This is another editorial, and it's an anonymous editorial that the Los Angeles Times put out there, no doubt just to cause division, divide, and conquer. Peril from Patriots. The U.S. needs to keep a close watch on the growing threat of homegrown extremist groups. And this quotes the Southern Poverty Law Center's annual report on extremist groups and the Patriot movement, which is one sector of their racist, anti-freedom, I don't know, I'm not sure how they actually get away with the terms they use, but Patriot groups is the largest and fastest growing of their three definitions of extremist groups. And well, this anonymous editorial asks this question at the end. These groups should be closely monitored with resources adequate to the task, even if it means shifting some Homeland Security money from the hunt for foreign terrorists. You see, shifting from Al-Qaeda to domestic extremists, white patriots. I mean, really? White patriots. Let's take the money we used to use to kill the brown people to get them mad at us and spend it on white patriots. It's amazing. It's amazing. And of course, it has a poll. That's the question. Should we worry about patriot groups? Yeah. If you're a globalist and if you're in the corrupt United States government and you are actively trying to overthrow our First and Second and Fourth and Fifth Amendments, all of them, yeah, you probably should be a little bit worried about patriot groups. But if you're someone who believes in freedom, liberty, Second Amendment, private property rights, freedom of religion, yeah, you got nothing to worry about because we're peaceful people. 100% peaceful people. Moving right along from Politico.com, that rag. Dianne Feinstein, Ted Cruz trade barbs over gun ban. And they're talking about Dianne Feinstein's amendment and proposal to the upcoming gun bill. It has no chance. They're just not going to pass it in the Senate. But I think that's them moving the Overton window just a little bit, because in this article, it focuses on Senator John Cornyn of Texas, the second highest Republican in the Senate, said he must strongly oppose the Feinstein proposal and echoed the GOP position. This is the GOP position, backed by the powerful National Rifle Association. Remember that the measure was overly broad and failed to address failed to address the problem of seriously mentally deranged getting guns. Of the seriously mentally deranged getting guns. Who decides who is seriously mentally deranged? Someone after they've actually violated someone's rights, or preemptively by doctors these days? But if you thought the NRA was good and the Republicans were good and they just love you and they love your guns, no, they love the power they wield. From Infowars.com, Democrats, Republicans, and NRA work together on gun confiscation. And, well, yeah, there's little talk that the NRA and some Republicans on the Hill are colluding to work with Vermont Senator Pat Leahy on his Senate Bill 443, the, quote, Forced Gun Owner Registration Act. And if you know anything, if you register them, the next step, logically, is take them. But are they taking them? Well, in some instances, they are. From Bloomberg, California seizes guns as owners lose right to keep arms. Wearing bulletproof vests and carrying .40 caliber Glock pistols, 9 California Justice Department agents assembled outside a ranch-style house in a suburb east of Los Angeles. They were looking for a gun owner who recently spent 2 days in a mental hospital. And this article goes over the ways that California handles their databases, basically information. Remember, information is what they want. It's what Google makes money off of. It's what Facebook makes money off of. California is the only state that tracks and disarms people with legally registered guns who have lost the right to own them, according to Attorney General Kamala Harris. She wrote a letter to Joe Biden recommending a review of a gun policy and considering California as the national model. Well, if their model is to successfully take guns away from the citizens, I'd bet Barack Obama and Joe Biden might be right on board with this plan. As many as 200,000 people nationwide may no longer be qualified to own firearms. And it can be from, felons that fell through the cracks, or it can be from what the interviewer was witnessing in California, and that was the raid on Lynette Phillips, 48, who had been hospitalized for mental illness. Her husband, David, owned a gun, and they took those guns as well. Took one of hers and 2 of his, because you can't have guns in a house with a crazy person. And, well, they were a married couple, and they just took their guns. And in an interview, as agents inventoried the guns, Lynette Phillips said that while she'd been held involuntarily in a mental hospital in December, the nurse who admitted her had exaggerated the magnitude of her condition. So one person, one nurse at a mental hospital, got this woman's guns taken away. You see how easy it can happen? You see how fast it can happen? She says, I do feel I have every right to purchase a gun. I'm not a threat. We're law-abiding citizens. And she's a rational person because she didn't blame the Attorney General's agents for taking guns based on false information or the information they had. But that's the problem. It's the information they have. And no, she shouldn't have gotten her guns loaded and fired them on them. But this is what we have to watch out for. We have to stand up for this woman. Because one nurse got this woman's guns taken away. One nurse. Moving along, Infowars.com, New Jersey woman arrested for reciting Constitution at tax meeting. They were going to raise personal property tax valuations. This woman got mad, didn't want people coming into her home, so they gave her an extra high valuation. She got mad, went to the tax meeting, and decided to stand up and recite the Constitution. She was forcefully, physically removed from the meeting, and the police came to her house and took her guns. She was arrested, and they knew what gun she had because in New York or in New Jersey, they are keeping those kinds of records, and they wanted to keep her guns for safekeeping. Oh, thank you, government. Oh, thank you for taking my guns. She said, I have permits for each of them. I applied legally. I got them legally. Now I can't defend myself. Sounds about right. And finally, also from Infowars.com, first victim entrapped in New York under unconstitutional gun law. Yeah, the New York's Attorney General office And the Justice Department in New York decided to start pulling stings on people buying and selling guns without the government's knowledge. So be weary. If the deal's too good to be true, it might be an undercover agent. And always ask if they're a felon. Know the rules, know the laws inside your state so you don't go to jail. We are all peaceful patriots here, but we want to keep our damn guns. Jay-Z signing off for Flashpoint Radio, saying God bless and keep your eyes to the sky.
The time it has come to destroy